Major provisions of a US surveillance law are set to expire within hours. Parts of the Patriot Act allow the National Security Agency to collect telephone data from millions of people. But that program, along with others, is scheduled to lapse later today, unless Congress can come up with a solution. CNN's Sunlen Serfaty joins us now from Washington. Sunlen, these surveillance laws were created in the wake of September 11. What do they entail?
Well, much of the controversy, Lynda, in Congress is over this provision, this program of the bulk phone data collection program. That's where the government collects these phone data, the numbers called, the numbers dialed, and how long these phone calls lasted, but doesn't collect the conversations that were had. So there's a lot of controversy over that specific provision. But there are also a slew of other provisions that would potentially be expiring, provisions that the United States government argues is essential to helping them track terrorists, including allowing the government to seek a court order for business records, things like bank records and hotel bills. Also that roving wiretaps for burned phones, and also the ability to track down non-American lone wolves. The White House has been really ratcheting up their rhetoric in recent days, again, saying that this is very essential to the way that their counterterrorism strategy is organized. Lynda?
There's obviously a lot of debate about this. Presidential Republican candidate Rand Paul says the law allows the National Security Agency to carry out invasive and illegal spying on ordinary Americans, while his Republican presidential challenger, Jeb Bush, whose brother George introduced the law, has a very different opinion. How do you think this is going to play out later today when they debate it?
Well, it's certainly going to come down to the wire because the window here for Congress to pass something is just very short. There's a midnight deadline. They come back in just a few hours, in 6 hours here Eastern time, and they have a lot to do. And the truth of it is there's just no clear path forward at this time. And we do know from, as you mentioned, Senator Rand Paul, he believes these programs are illegal. He believes that they're unconstitutional. And he really has vowed to stand in the way of anything going forward that doesn't weaken the government surveillance powers. He tweeted out yesterday that he believes that he will fight to force the expiration of these at midnight tonight. So I do think it will come down to the wire. I think it's likely the way this is headed is that we'll see some sort of lapse happen, given that the Senate does not look likely to be able to get that done before the midnight deadline. Lynda?
President Obama, of course, worries about the law and what it could mean for the security of the country. If there is a lapse, how long could it continue for?
Well, it's interesting. The White House has said that even before the law lapses at midnight tonight, they're going to have to start winding down some of these programs. They say the NSA will start winding down parts of the programs, like they'll start reaching out to phone companies. They'll start reconfiguring software at 4 p.m. today. That's in about 6 hours. So even before it expires, the administration's warning they will lose some of that ability. Now, if this expires fully at midnight tonight and the Senate is not able to get anything passed, the White House says it will take at least 24 hours after the fact to want to reverse those sorts of wind down provisions. So it's likely, if nothing gets done, it will take many, many days after they're able to pass something. And that's a big if they're able to even get there. Lynda?
It's going to be a busy night at the White House and a busy night at the National Security Agency. Sunlen Serfaty, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.